Yes.
Right, hello everybody, I'm Ali, the founder of Heal Yourself Happy, and welcome to the Heal Yourself Happy Hub to all of the new members here in the Hub. So just a little bit of background about me. I'm a health and happiness coach, and I help people who have been through a traumatic time or even just facing a really, really difficult time, and I help them with moving through their challenges and helping them feel so much better and brighter and lighter. And I do that through both working with people privately, but also on online courses. And I help them go on this journey of self-discovery that really helps them create this prescription for healing and health and happiness that is really sustainable, because it's based on them and how they feel right now and how they feel or how they want to feel going forward. So that's me in a real nutshell. But I'm so delighted today because I'm joined with one of my dearest, I don't like saying oldest friends, but we have known each other since we were, teenagers. So she's one of my dearest, longest friends, and she's also a fellow health coach. So I'm just going to hand over to Tiff and she can introduce herself.
Hello. Yes, thanks, Ali. The trouble is we are quite old now, aren't we?
Don't feel it though. Don't feel it.
I know, and we don't look it either. I'm Tiffany. I'm also a health coach, but I specialise more in kind of nutrition and overall well-being. So I help people with weight loss, with increasing their energy, with just sort of overall diet and lifestyle stuff. I love food. I'm constantly cooking. I'm constantly writing about food and posting my recipes. So please go and have a look at my Instagram after this, which is Tiffany Rowlands Health, if you want some recipe inspiration. So that's what I do. I come up with bespoke and personalised plans for my clients, which are based around foods that will nourish and nurture them and make them feel great.
I love that, nourish and nurture.
They're good words, aren't they?
Really, really good words. And I think that will help us really dive into this first topic that I wanted to talk about today, because obviously there's been two key topics out in the press this week. One, obviously, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, but also secondly, a lot about in the press about what they're seeing in terms of people's response to COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and the links that they're seeing between obesity and how actually your risk factor is so much higher in your response to COVID if you are obese. So I thought we would touch on that. There were some really great articles by Dr. Naseem Malhotra, who I've heard speak, who's just a wonderful heart surgeon. He's written a book called the PIOPI diet, I think, PIOPPI, which is very much based around kind of like the Mediterranean diet and how he's helped people lose a lot of weight so that they can go in for cardio surgery. So he's a fantastic guy, and actually his letter to the health secretary has been really taken very, very seriously, and they're starting to look into that. So I wondered whether we could just go through really broad brush, high level, because I know there's been some people asking questions about that, on how they can really get themselves into physical peak condition in terms of making sure that they're in the best physical place in terms of resilience and response to that. So Tiff, I'm just going to ask you, because he talks very much around food and the fact that it's poor diet. So what tips would you like to share?
Well, the first thing, I've been thinking about this too, I want to say, is that diet's a terrible word, isn't it? And I don't like to put anyone on a diet, but what I think, how we'll talk about it, is kind of a way of eating, a kind of food plan for life, as it were.
Love that.
And I think if you are trying to lose weight, one of the most important things is that you find something that you can stick to. So, one diet might have worked for someone that doesn't work for you. So if a client comes to me, and the first thing I do is find out their likes and dislikes. And if they say to me, I absolutely love bread and pasta, they're my reason for living, I don't then put them on a low carb diet, because their life
is sustainable, is it? It's just not sustainable.
No,
yeah.
Not sustainable.
Denial. Yeah.
They won't stick to it. Yeah. So I think you have to either come and see someone like Ali and me, who can really help you find what is right for you, or look at your likes and dislikes and then try and find, sort of healthy alternatives and diet swaps. But also, it's so dull and so boring, but the Mediterranean diet has been shown to really help with weight loss and overall general health. So that means eating a whole food diet, lots of plants, lots of fruit and veggies, loads of lean protein, healthy fats, and also including some omega-3 fatty acids, which I'll talk about later, actually. So that's sort of oily fish, stuff like that. I think I've definitely had at the moment a couple of people come to me and saying, oh God, I'm doing all this exercise at home and I'm putting on weight. And I think also is because we're doing a bit more sort of mindless eating, you know. Well, certainly I am, you know, nicking the kids' chips as I'm walking around the kitchen and stuff. And I think if that is you and you're noticing the pounds piling on, but you're not sure why, it's about refocusing your mind and going, hang on a minute, I did just eat half a biscuit and a chip and a yogurt before I sat down for dinner. And just really thinking about what you're putting in your body would be my tip at the moment.
It's that conscious eating, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really. And actually, that's why sometimes writing a food diary can help for just a short period of time, not you know, like 3 days, because it focuses you on what you are putting in your mouth, you know. Because often I'll have people come to see me and they're very overweight and need to lose weight, and you go through what they eat in a day, and it looks like a supermodel diet, and you don't really understand it. And I think unless you do make a note, sometimes you can lose track of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think food diaries have definitely helped me in the past, and they've also helped an awful lot of my clients as well, I think. But sometimes when they start it, they almost stop doing what they've been doing before.
Yeah.
I think there's no point. You've got to do it honestly and almost just say, don't change anything, but just start to write down and do it in a very non-judgmental way. So if you eat half a packet of biscuits, write down that you've eaten half a packet of biscuits. And then I think, as you said, that's when a health coach or a nutritionist or somebody can be really helpful, because it's then saying, okay, so you ate half a pack of biscuits. And I know that you and I both believe that, you know, yes, what goes on your plate isn't often necessarily the diet thing. It's all to do with something else that's happening in your life. So back to your point, at the moment, we might all be unconsciously or subconsciously eating more just because there's so much strange stuff going on. And that, you know, I know for sure I'm going through chocolate like there's no tomorrow. Normally I would have one bar of chocolate that would last me the week, and I'm definitely going through more than that. And I think it's that emotional eating, I know, for me. And I know go on.
I think you have you know, you're either with stress a stress eater or a stress non-eater. So I know some people who just stop eating. I'm not one of them. I have my hair in the fridge when I'm stressed, you know what I mean? But I think, you know, it does play such a key part, doesn't it? And I don't know why it is, but we do turn to food sometimes to sort of soothe as well.
Soothe, fill a hole, whatever it is. So I think it's not necessarily, I think it's important when you do the food diary, it's not necessarily looking at what you eat, but it's actually looking about what caused you to eat that. Let's look at that rather than deny yourself the biscuit. Let's go and find out why you ate the biscuit. Does that?
Yes,
absolutely. Come from that.
I think to make sure that when you are sitting down for meals, you're having a proper balanced plate of food, so that you're not snacking, because actually you are quite hungry because you're not eating properly at meal times, and that's a sort of vicious cycle, isn't it, as well? So make sure you've got your protein on your plate, loads of veggies, some complex carbs and some healthy fats.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. One of the points that Dr. Naseem Malhotra talks about is very much around the processed food, and saying how detrimental processed food is in terms of your diet and weight gain and obesity. And he says we've got to reduce the amount of processed food, and a lot of times processed food is the snacks. So I think there's a school of thought, isn't there, about we shouldn't need to snack if we are eating 3 balanced, healthy meals. So don't go and eat a light salad for lunch, but then go and eat a whole bag of chips in the afternoon. You know, have a proper meal at lunchtime is better for you than snacking in between. What are your thoughts on snacks?
Yeah, well, I'm in that sort of school of thought. I think if you eat 3 balanced meals a day, you shouldn't need to snack out of those times a lot. Yeah. But that said, if you ate lunch at midday and you're not eating dinner till 8, that's a massive amount of time. So you probably do need a snack. And if you are going to snack, though, I think snack wisely then. Yeah. So again, make sure you've got some protein and a vegetable, you know, so something like, you know, hummus and veggie sticks, or some oat cakes with a bit of cheese and an apple, or some Greek yogurt and berries and seeds. You know, I've got heaps of ideas, and anyone can contact me, or you, I know, or follow us on Instagram and find more ideas. But sometimes it's about making clever swaps, isn't it?
Definitely.
And also maybe actually saying to yourself, right, I'm going to have 3 meals and 2 snacks, but each time I snack, I'm going to sit down and have a proper snack, and then that's it, instead of mindlessly grazing, because I think that's where the extra calories come in, and that you don't
really consciously eat. Yeah.
And actually, I was going to say, you know, one quite good tip, I think, which makes me sound weird as hell, I'm sorry about that, is I think sometimes if you say to yourself, I'm not going to eat standing up, it's quite a good thing. So it forces you to sit down and have a proper snack or have a proper meal. And then you do less of the mindless grazing as well. So you ban yourself from eating standing up.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip. And I also think that goes back to the Zen proverb of eat when eating, walk when walking, you know, rather than eating al desco, which is, you know, we're all working from home. It's very easy to eat your lunch in front of your desk. It's actually really consciously saying, I'm going to take my lunch break and I'm going to have it, you know, at the table with the family, if you've got family at home. And then, and I've been consciously doing that and actually been really enjoying.
And from you know, a mind perspective, I'm sure you would say that's so much better for you as well, because you're having a proper break, aren't you, from whatever.
But also then your brain consciously recognizes that you're eating. Whereas if you're eating and working, your brain's concentrating on something else rather than digesting and understanding and recognizing that you're eating. So you might finish your lunch and then think, oh God, I'm still hungry. You're not really, because your brain hasn't registered that you have been eating. So I think that's a really valid point. What was I going to say? There was another question around gut health. Somebody wanted to know about gut health, and I know that gut health obviously plays a very important part in terms of digestion, which can obviously help contribute towards weight loss. And she just says, what do you think is the most important thing that you need to do in order to really nurture and nourish your guts? I think you and I both love the like microbiome and the happy soldiers, and I like to try and explain to my clients that, you know, your microbiome are good bacteria which are healthy soldiers. So what do we need to do in order to keep our healthy soldiers happy and fighting fit? Because that will help us fight disease as well, won't it, and viruses.
Actually, there was an article in the paper this week, I don't know if there was much science behind it, saying that those with a healthier gut microbiome were doing better when they got COVID. Anyway, I don't know if that's true or not, it was just something I read. But the best way to ensure you've got a healthy gut microbiome is to have a really varied diet. So it's boring, we say it all the time, but eat the colours of the rainbow in terms of fruit and vegetables. So as many different fruit and veg as you can get into your body as possible, because they all come with their own little positives, and they all bring something new to the party and different sets of nutrients and different vitamins and minerals. So the wider variety you can have, the better, really. And to make sure you've got some pre and probiotics in there, which, you know, I could bang on about. We'll go into another time. But things like slightly green bananas, onions, artichokes are prebiotics, and they feed your gut microbiome. And then lots of green leafy vegetables, lots of whole grains, and also things like fermented foods, so kefir, miso soups are a really good thing to snack on as well if you're trying to lose weight, because they're hot, they fill you up, and they're low in calories. So misos are great. I love kefir. I can just neck it by the bottle. Probably not there, but you can make it into a smoothie, or you know,
add it to your oats.
And actually, certain cheeses are really good for gut microbiome as well. Because
love a cheese. What cheese?
Well, I need to look back at my notes, but I think certain cheddars are. But you need to look at the ones that are fermented, and as well, I think, are really good for your gut microbiome, which is good.
That is good news. Love a bit of good. I also like to explain how our little soldiers need rest. So intermittent fasting can be a really good thing, you know, just like we need our rest and sleep. I often prescribe, I suppose, a 12-hour fast for your soldiers. So that's really, we are a nation of snackers, aren't we, really, now? It's about saying, when you've had supper, close the kitchen. And I know you have a great way of just like saying, right, the kitchen is closed, putting a sign up on the door and just saying kitchen's closed. And, you know, after supper, whatever time that might be, 7 or 8 o'clock, it's about then making sure you give your body that 12-hour window and not eating again until 12 hours later. Obviously drink water and what have you, but nothing in there that your body's going to need to digest that's taxing.
Do you know, I have done that. In the past, I've had problems with my stomach, and I absolutely now consciously do that. And it a bit longer as well, and it has really transformed my gut health. And it might have been other things as well.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was such an evening snacker. And, you know, I think I've said this to you before, even if it was just things like grapes or the odd yogurt or things that you'd think weren't bad, I was constantly grazing until I got into bed. And now I don't do that at all anymore. So, and I see a real difference, you know.
I have as well. I also noticed that it makes me sleep much better. So rather than, you know, if I was a chocolate eater or yogurt or whatever it was, crisps, whatever would be going, if I make sure that I don't eat any more after 8:30 in the evening, I know that my sleep is so much better because my stomach's not trying to digest anything.
Just wedge them 7:45.
Yeah. Get it all in. I agree. I'm the same as you. I struggled really badly with the IBS and terrible bloating. So it looked, I was 20 weeks pregnant when I looked down, and intermittent fasting. And just like you said, making sure lots of good, healthy veggies, variety of diet. And that doesn't mean just the variety in the fruits and veg, but also across the board in terms of macronutrients. So a variety of proteins, a variety of carbohydrates, and just making sure, as you say, you get that broad range of vitamins and minerals, and that could be so good for your holistic health, but particularly your gut health as well.
And I think at the moment people might think, oh God, you know, I haven't got time, or I can't be bothered. It doesn't need to be complicated. Keep things super simple.
Yep.
Maybe have 4 or 5 different meals that you can cook and just rotate them. You know, that's a trick as well.
I mean, that's what I've been doing. And one of my clients, she's got 2 daughters, she's homeschooling them. Her husband's a key worker, so she's full on. And we used the concept of the kitchen. So she didn't feel like she was constantly working the whole time. It was like, right now it's called the Rainbow Cafe. The Rainbow Cafe is only open at these times, you know, and we did a lunch menu, and I just said, just have 3 simple things, what you might have on the lunch menu, you know, like a ham salad wrap, pasta pesto, you know, just stuff that's sort of baked potato, something very simple that kids get to choose what they want, so you don't have to keep thinking. And then supper, exactly that. I said, you know, each of you choose a different meal 1 night a week, and, you know, rotate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think also as well, in terms of obesity and health, we've touched on kind of like diet. There's also other contributing factors that can help, obviously, with weight loss, and those obviously being exercise and making sure you get lots of good sleep. And then stress plays a huge part in weight gain or weight loss, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, you're the sort of mindfulness expert, but I've definitely started using more breathing techniques, and I'm constantly in the hub following on in our moments of calm in the afternoon.
Moments of calm.
But breathing can really transform your stress levels. You know, I've just found it's really helped me over this time as well. And being more present, being in the moment, not worrying too much about what's going to happen, you know, and just trying to take each day as it comes.
I think at the moment that's very, very, very pertinent, because I don't think any of us know what's going to happen. So there's no point in trying to, what if it, multiple scenarios, you could go round and round. So definitely living in this present moment, and breathing, even just breathing 4 deep breaths can bring you into that parasympathetic state and out of the stress state. So just count of 4 in, hold for 4, and out for 4 is incredibly important, just to help you get out of that stress state. And we can go on, we can bang on about the kind of like holistic and weight loss. And what I would say is, obviously Tiff works very closely with people in this kind of area, so do reach out to Tiff, go follow her. I know that also that all the contributing factors in terms of your holistic health and weight loss also contribute that when you work through my Heal Yourself Happy Academy 7-step framework that looks at looking at your physical health. So what you eat and how you can look after your gut, how you move your body, and obviously get your heart rate up, which also contributes to good mental health. Also sleep and rest, vital for our bodies as well, to allow it to rest and recover. But then also going through all those kind of like stress techniques. So looking at your mind, looking at who you are, looking at the people that you surround yourself with, because that can also cause either stress or not stress. And then really, although we're saying don't look too far in the future, but it's always good to have a good eye on where you want to go, and working out, you know, it's positive thinking for the future. So that's running at the moment, and there are lots of people working through the academy using this time at the moment really to put in some good habits into their life. Tiff, I know you're going through it as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend it enough to everyone.
Thank you. And there's still spaces. So there are people who are on it now. There's lots and lots of people doing it. So if you're finding that you've started but got stuck, or you've lost momentum or motivation, then do come and join the group coaching. It's really amazing value for money at the moment. It's really small groups, but you get to have that additional accountability. You get me with my eyes on your life and giving you guidance and support and tips. So come and join that if you're finding that you're a bit stuck, or if you don't like the idea of group coaching, then just drop me a line and come and have a chat with me privately, and I can help you through whatever's causing you a problem. So I wanted to talk about the second part of what's going on in the moment in the news, just briefly. But obviously,
we just have a bit of bang you on, don't we?
We do. But we'll just touch on this really quite quickly, because we know everybody's very busy, and it's obviously half term coming up, so everyone wants to get off and enjoy the sunshine. But it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and I've had a couple of questions, so I'm just going to touch on that, and then maybe Tiff, we can talk. I know you've been working on it as well, but somebody says she's got lots of negative thoughts and she doesn't know how to turn them around and challenge them. I've been there, and I think we can all have quite a lot of negative thoughts at the moment. You know, everything is very intense. We're in this really strange place. We're beginning to question everything, and that can kind of trigger some kind of negative thoughts. I think one thing I would say is that in negative thinking, it's all about acknowledging that you're thinking in this way, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. You are just human. Calling stuff negative is not great. It's just a human feeling, a human thought, and just recognizing that it could be potentially damaging and harmful. But the more you suppress those feelings, the worse it can often get. So you need to give them a bit of airtime. Look at it, ask if it's true, really understand it. And then there's another great technique that I've used, which has been very much to assign characters to the different voices in your heads, which helps you become an observer to the thoughts, and then you can work out which ones you want to listen to and which ones you don't. And this is such a huge topic, and it's one that I deep dive into in the Happy Mind, which is the fourth pillar. And I often talk about this in Finding Moments of Calm, which happen every weekday in the hub between 4 and 5. So if you are really struggling with negative thoughts, then come and do find some answers on how to deal with that in the Heal Yourself Happy Hub. Tiff, I don't know if there's been anything that you've been thinking negatively about, and have you got any tools and techniques that you found useful?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we've all been a bit more negative, and I'm generally quite a half glass full person. So for me, it's quite a shock, you know.
Yeah.
I think partly it's because we're spending so much more time on our own, aren't we? So you've not got the mums there at the gate, or the person in the office who you sort of bleat onto and let a bit of steam off with. It's all going around in your head. And I think sometimes just picking up the phone and chatting to someone else makes you realise you are being a bit, you know, la, and actually it's quite nice to chat to someone else, and then you feel a bit calmer about it all. I was also, just coming from my foodie perspective, going to talk about a tiny bit about the impact of food on your mental health.
Yep, good. I was going to ask you to talk about that.
But only because there is a direct link between your mental health, your physical.
Yeah.
And you know, we need to be looking after ourselves at the moment. That's the number one thing, isn't it? And if you're filling your body with rubbish, you're going to feel rubbish. I mean, that's just what happens, you know. So think about if you go for a McDonald's or eat loads of sweets one afternoon, you might love it whilst you're doing it, but afterwards you feel rubbish, don't you? You just do. And so in that vein, you have to be feeding yourself really nourishing, really wholesome, you know, foods that will make you feel good. And I could bang on for hours, not going to. But the one I would say is try and eat oily fish at least 3 times a week, because it's full of omega-3 fatty acids, which are so good for your brain. But not just your brain, also there's been studies about how they can affect depression as well. But I made this note here. There was this huge Spanish study of 12,000 people, and it showed that there was a 48% increase in rates of depression in people who had higher levels. Oh, this was of trans fats. Sorry, I used it. So the omega-3s are really important, and trans fats are the bad fats. And this study was all about people who ate more trans fats having a huge increase in levels of depression. So you want more omega-3s and less trans fats. So trans are things like pastries, fried foods, processed foods. So you want to switch those for more omega-3s. And if you don't like oily fish, I would suggest you take a supplement, or you can get some omega-3s from things like flax seeds and seeds, stuff like that.
And that takes us right back, doesn't it, to what Dr. Maseem Malhotra was talking about, was reduce the processed food. Not only is that going to help you physically, but it's also going to help you mentally and build both that resilience to COVID physically, but also mentally, and how you're dealing with this current situation as well. So I think that's a really, really valid point. They talk about the corona coaster going up and down like that.
Yeah.
So you and I both understand kind of like the sugar coaster, isn't it? So it's like you might have pastry or some sugary cereal for breakfast. So you go up like this, and then you have a sugar spike, and then you have a sugar crash and you're down, and then you have a coffee and a croissant and you go up, and you're up and down throughout the day based on what you're eating. So it's so important to level out that kind of sugar spike by doing exactly what you're saying, eating whole foods, less processed foods, omega-3.
Yeah, and trying to get your omega-3s in. Yeah, so it's getting rid of the trans fats and introducing more omega-3s. That's really important for mental health. And I think, there's been lots of studies behind that as well. So if there's one small thing you can do, go and buy a tin of sardines.
Oh, I love sardines. My mum used to make sardines on toast for tea sometimes when she couldn't be bothered to cook.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I make mackerel salad at lunch.
Oh, okay. Nice. One last thing that actually you've already really answered, but there was one question. She said, I'm really finding it hard to ask for support when I'm struggling. I'm finding it really hard to put into words how I'm feeling, and I can't move forward. How do I do this on my own? So I think that goes back to exactly your point, is that you don't do this on your own. You don't have to do it on your own. Yes, pick up the phone and call a friend. And if you feel uncomfortable talking to a friend, then that's exactly why people like you and I are here, to hold that safe space for you to try and articulate how you're feeling, and then we can help you move through that. And I know that there are some great charities who help. Obviously there's Mind Health UK, the UK Health Coaches Association. You can get lots of information from them as well. And I think also, if you are really, really struggling, the most important thing I would say is reach out to your GP, because I know that a lot of them are doing virtual consultations. So if you really are struggling, it's so important to get the help you need.
And I think, at the moment, there's never been so much support and so much free support out there, there really is. So, don't suffer in silence, whatever you do. And you might feel silly, but you mustn't, because we're all feeling, Ali and I might look quite sorted. We're absolutely not at all. We're messy.
What that message is. Yeah, I think it's definitely, there's you mustn't feel like you're alone in this, because I think sometimes you can feel that you're the only person going through this mental struggle. Well, and one of the statistics that helped me when I was in the darkness, that I wasn't alone, that is actually 1 in 4 people, so it's a really high proportion of people, will struggle with mental health issues at some point in their life. It's not necessarily means that you're going to have it for the rest of your life, but at some point in your life, 1 in 4 people will have an issue with their mental health, whether that be anxiety or depression or overwhelm or stress. So it's so important to reach out and get the support you need. And if you don't know where to go, then the first port of call should always be your GP.
Agreed. And I think that, the stigma around mental health issues just isn't there anymore.
No, it's gone. It's gone. Yeah. Right. I think we've done our allotted time. We've whistled through that, haven't we? And I could chat for you for hours, but I think bringing the topics that are in the news to now on how we feel about it has been, I hope, to everybody, been really useful. But as Tiff said, please go find her on her Instagram account. She does mouth-watering recipes all the time. I make them all the time, and she's at Tiffany Rowlands Health. Is that right, Tiff? That's right, isn't it? I'm just so used to following you.
Sorry, I lost you there for a minute, Al. Yes, Tiffany Rowlands Health.
Tiffany Rowlands Health. I post recipes in the hub all the time, and I'm always sharing those mindfulness techniques, and also how to look at your holistic health. So as I said, not just your mind and your body, but sleep and exercise and your soul, and making sure that you feel confident and on purpose. And I think that's a point we haven't touched on at all, but maybe a topic for another time. But with so many people at home, possibly furloughed or at risk of redundancy, or really not knowing what's going to be happening going forward, there is this sense of a lack of purpose when you don't know what's going to happen with your job. So we can definitely talk about that another time. But again, if you're feeling in that way, please do get in touch, and we can help with that as well. Right, my lovely, thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom as always.
Fun. And please, yeah, do reach out, and I might see you in the hub sometime.
Yeah, Tiff's always there.
I am always making food comments.
I love it. Thank you, my darling. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Let me just stop this recording. Here we go.